So Ben Houchen, easily probably the only Tory with any real power anymore. And it would be highly embarrassing, shall we say, should Houchen suddenly fall from grace. You may remember, of course, the great Houchen letter that stopped the Tory infighting. And then, of course, they all travelled to Hull to try and, get kiss the ring of Houchen, begging for his nomination, which, bear in mind, still, he has not given to a single one of these candidates. We should still point that out. But of course, Houchen is now facing some more troubles. Of course, on that Freeport. Not only did we recently cover the new packet of information that came out that said, oh yeah, actually, this Freeport not going to work. The economic benefits, according to the OBR, are barely going to be even noticeable. Fantastic news on that front for what was meant to be a brilliant, overwhelming Brexit benefit, right? Well, no, news is now happening again, because this Friday, it looks like that Ben Houchen is going to be ousted as chair of one of the committees of the Tees Valley Works. So we're going to go into this because this could be very, very significant. And of course, with Houchen out of this position, well, other things could maybe start happening on this front as well. So before we go having a look into this as well, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page, the Buy Me Coffee link where you can buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there's the Pony Club down below as well. So let's crack on then into this. For the Northeast bylines, the title is of Councillors now move to oust Houchen as STDC chair. So, councillors in the Tees Valley are now attempting to remove Mayor Lord Ben Houchen from his position as chair as the South Tees Development Corporation because now of a possible conflict of interest. Why was he even put in that position before? Bear in mind, he's been in this position for quite some time. Maybe someone in the previous government maybe should have noticed that before doing this, but there you go. So this move came at a meeting of the Tees Valley Combined Authority, and the audit on the government's committee on the 17th of September is now a recommendation that goes before the TVCA cabinet this Friday. If approved, it will form part of the TCA's response to now the independent Tees Valley review to be submitted to the government by the end of this month. Something, again, we are going to be watching with interest to see not only what the response of this, what the response to the response from the Tees Valley review will be from them, but also then what the government does. I still do believe Rachel Reeves should just go, auditors, in you go, because I think that really needs to be done. So Houchen, of course, currently chairs both the TVCA and the STDC. The latter was then set up by the former to lead the regeneration project of the former Redcar Steelwork, which is now under the control of the private-public ownership or partnership, of the Tees Work Limited, with the local businessmen Chris Musgrave and Martin Corney that have a 90% shareholding and the STCDC just 10%. The interest of the TVC, which then has now channeled over £560 million worth of taxpayers' money into the Tees Valley Works via the STDC in grants and loans, and those of the STC may now be seen as now in conflict, councillors believe. The Tees Valley Review, which was set up by the former government following the allegations of corruption, for which the review found no evidence, reported back in January. Bear in mind, that report and that review wasn't allowed to look for any evidence or anything like that, but it said, actually, there is some stuff that probably should be looked at, just, make sure it's all on the up. But of course, they weren't allowed to look at that. Michael Gove expressly forbade them to allow them to look at that. Of course, reported back in January, it made over 28 different recommendations to try and deal with these issues, of course, of governance and transparency. It said this needed to be addressed and found now a number of decisions taken by bodies that involved did not meet the standards expected when managing, of course, public funds. One of the recommendations was the makeup of the STC board, including the chair and, of course, the role of the associate members, which should be reviewed and to ensure the relevant expertise and knowledge is now in place to support the mayor in setting and delivering his strategic ambitions. The ACG obviously agreed, and its meeting of the 17th of September decided that in consideration to be given to the appointment of a chair other than the Tees Valley mayor to actually negotiate any perceived conflict of interest. If approved by the cabinet on Friday, it will go from there to the government as part of the TVCA's response to the review. And again, we'll see what comes of that review, how hard it is, what people who have been looking at this says, will it go far enough? What actions will they have taken? So the AGC's, of course, draft minutes do record that members were told that the appointment of the Mayoral Development Corporation Board was provided, of course, in legislation, and members were recommended by the mayor and approved at the cabinet. There had been, of course, some discussion around whether the chair should be the Teesside mayor, and the draft minutes do record that this might be a discussion point for the committee. Councillor Mandy Porter of Darlington, the AGC chair, felt that it could be seen as a conflict in some respects, and asked the committee what their thoughts were. Councillor Nick Waller of Middlesbrough did agree and say that it was a matter of perception and felt it would be very beneficial to have a different chair. Andrew Evans, the independent member of the ACG, also agreed and said that it should be decided that this should be some form of recommendation to the cabinet. So this now removes Ben Houchen from that position. And as you can see, he shifted a lot of public money into that, corporation where those businessmen have a 90% control. Yeah. Still a lot of questions really need to be answered about what's going on there. However, good development, good start. But I do believe the government does need to go further, and I think there should be, quite frankly, a full audit put on here, just in case. Like I say, if Houchen's right, and as he's continually said, oh, we've got nothing to hide, we've got nothing to do, even though sometimes if you follow the private eye, they've been following this, as they do in these regards. Shown that Houchen has been telling a few porky pies sometimes in those regards, but we'll see what happens. We will see what happens in this, but this could be the start of maybe the downfall of Houchen, maybe, because if someone else comes in and, shall we say, is not agreeable to, shall we say, to the other owners, then you could start to have fallings out. Maybe the person that gets put in starts to ask the right questions, or should we say the wrong questions, from the perspective of those the other, should we say, majority shareholders. Things could get maybe interesting, and of course it all depends who gets voted on, who gets put in that position. We don't know yet. We'll see what happens on Friday. Things could get interesting potentially on that front, but let me know what you think down below. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.